Good evening. Welcome to the Napoleon Memoirs. This is where we obsess about Napoleon and the truth about Napoleon. And sometimes I lose a little bit of control and I say things. What can I do? And sometimes I do say them a little in absolute terms. Maybe I'm not perfectly accurate. Doing my best. Okay? So let's look at the memoirs of Count Charles Tristan Montagne. But before I get into that, I have to say that we are planning on throwing stones. I make these beautiful sapphire bracelets. They're so sparkly. I really enjoy them. And I spent many years perfecting them. So they're pretty tough. But they're jewelry. So if you end up getting one, treat them with love, please. But I hope they'll bless whoever receives them. And today there was intermittent showers, so we didn't put it out today. But maybe tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow, as long as the weather's clear. Some beautiful jewelry is going to appear out in public. And we're doing this because we want people to think about what they value and how money is really an idea in our minds. And anything can be money. And the money that we use that we think is so important is actually covered in occult symbols. And a lot of people don't realize that. So then, we have to wonder who's issuing that money. It's all about thinking. So this jewelry will go out and some people won't see it. Some people will see it and ignore it. Some people think, oh, that's probably some kind of trap. And then someone else will be like, wow, what a wonderful thing. Maybe that'll be something that'll make my day. And it's so interesting that everyone perceives every single thing totally differently. Back when I started this project, I used to put this beautiful rainbow art and I would put it on poles or trees. And some people were so inspired that rainbow art was just appearing in front of them. And some people couldn't see it. That's really interesting. So I came to realize that the way someone reacts to this project is a huge indication of who they are. And everyone reacts to it totally differently. For example, when I started doing this, putting rainbow art on trees, basically, I made it extremely easy to take. So basically, the art was a gift, just like the jewelry is a gift. And there was a man, let's not name him, who was furious that I was doing this and felt that I should be stopped immediately. And he sent the police to my house. This is just a regular Southampton guy. That's how he felt. Okay? Years later, I had to get my iPhone fixed at Best Buy, and I was dealing with his son. And, I knew it was his son. His son was like, it's her, I can't believe it. So I must really got his father mad, but he liked me. So he knew. Why did that man react that way? What was I doing that was so upsetting to him? These are the questions that the project has always brought up. And I like that. I like that. We should ask ourselves why we do the things we do. Anyway, let's start with the memoirs of this handsome, aristocratic grifter named Charles de Montsalon. I've looked at this from every angle. He must have poisoned Napoleon. And we're finding out the story that he's telling. And it's incredibly accurate so far. It's just one thing he said didn't sound right about Lucien, Napoleon's brother. I didn't really understand that, but everything else, he is completely in line with the other memoirs. That's really interesting. And this, I believe this was written later on, but probably from notes that he took when he was around Napoleon. And when he came back, he loved to play the hero and the faithful companion of Napoleon's who followed him so long. But he loved to play that role. He always did play it. I don't think he ever broke character his whole life. And to the extent that he even followed Napoleon III, or Tanster's son, to exile because he had participated in one of the failed coups d'etats that Hortense's son, Louis Napoleon, had enacted to try and take France back, again, to vindicate Napoleon. The Bonaparte dynasty is about vindicating Napoleon and the people. It's always about that. And the more I have learned about Napoleon III, Hortense's son, Louis Napoleon, he had really good intentions. And we don't hear anything about him. So he's another one of these like lost to history people that the current regime don't really care to have us know about. And he was always trying to eliminate poverty. He was always trying to help people. He had a very good heart. He always had a very good heart. That I do know. But again, did Monson follow Louis Napoleon to jail to mess him up, or because he had a change of heart? This I don't know. I really don't know. But Louis Napoleon obviously believed that Monson had been a faithful follower of Napoleon, as Napoleon had believed this. And the other thing that I always talk about is that Napoleon's second wife, though many people say that she was of, at best, average intelligence, she was the greatest actress in the world because she fooled Napoleon and Hortense. And they both actually thought that she loved him. And then the second he fell from power, she was disgusted at the idea of following him to Elba. And she was so hard done by the fact that she only had 5 servants left. And yet, while they were married, when Napoleon would go off to war, his second wife would cry her eyes out. Okay, so there's a lot of crying that goes on with the handlers. And for people who have a lot of sympathy and a lot of heart, that fools them for a while until they realize that it's all an act. So Napoleon's second wife was probably one of the greatest actresses, despite all the things they say about her that she really wasn't. I don't want to insult her, but she wasn't everything to everybody. She was a little disappointing to a lot of people in many ways, but her acting was amazing. So we have to wonder how all of these kind of plants grow up to be such perfect actors. And we don't know how they become so amazing at acting. I could never do that. I couldn't act like that. I'm a good actress, but I'm a terrible actress. You know, I can't fake it too much. So let's continue, okay? General Bertrand possessed all the virtues of an honorable man, and no one had more right to the esteem of the world and to the friendship of those who knew him, but he had not a firm enough will of his own. All the good that he did belongs entirely to himself. Everything that may be blamed in his acting as a diplomatist was a result of extraneous influence, which it was not in his nature to be able to resist. I must mention, however, the wish entertained by Admiral Sir George Cockburn to continue on shore the relations which had been necessary formed during the long voyage from Start Bay to St. Helena shortly after his establishment in the castle, a tolerably large house close to the ramparts of the citadel, which had served as habitation for the governor of the island before the construction of Plantation House. He wished to present to the emperor the principal persons in St. Helena, in the garrison, and the squadron under his command, without, however, presenting them in an official manner. And he thought the best plan would be to give a very large dinner party and to invite the emperor to honor it with his presence. He went to the Briars, therefore, at the hour when he knew that the emperor would be taking his customary walk in the evening, and begged him to do him the honor of dining with him at the castle. The emperor, however, did not accept the invitation for himself, but assured the admiral that we should all be present, even countless cousins who lodged at the Briars. A fortnight after, Sir George Cockburn gave a grand ball, to which the emperor also refused to go, although he sent us all to the party. The officers of the 53rd Regiment had hopes of being more successful. They dispatched the colonel, Sir George Bingham, who had sailed with us on board the Northumberland with the major of the regiment, and 2 officers who had undertaken the direction of the ball. The emperor received them with great condescension, conversed a long time with them, expressed to them the pleasure which he always felt when amongst old soldiers, as they were, but refused their invitation. He sent us there, however, as on the former occasion. It was the last time such a temptation occurred. This is a big thing. Napoleon felt, this is my feeling of how Napoleon felt. The British had him in captivity, and they wanted to roll him out at their parties, like a captured beast. That's how he saw it. And they would roll out Napoleon like at a circus. That's how he saw it. And as soon as Napoleon gets there, they have one party after another and say, "Oh, General Bonaparte, we would just love to have you there." He wasn't General Bonaparte. Napoleon took great offense at that because he was General Bonaparte up till 1799. After that, he's first consul, then he's emperor, then he's king of Italy. He's not General Bonaparte. So he's saying, the English government did treaties with me as Emperor Napoleon. They did treaties with me as the first consul. And now they're going to play pretend as an entire conspiracy group. They're all just going to snap their fingers and pretend it's 1799 again. He always said that he was very proud to be a general, but that they were playing some games with him. And I want people to understand that it's obviously the conspiracy's been told they can't say my name. And they changed Napoleon's name. And when they did that to me, I was perfectly aware of what they were doing. And I was perfectly aware of the game they were playing because I know this story and I know who I'm up against and I know how they operate. And they like to play these games, these little pretend games where they change names. And even the puppet king of France, Louis XVIII, pretended that he ruled France the entire time that Napoleon ruled France. So he called his first puppet year, which was 1814, called that the 13th year of his reign. So he pretended that he was king the entire time that Napoleon was doing great things for France. Okay, so we're dealing with a group that will snap its fingers and all of them will start to pretend that things that are untrue are true. Now you have to wonder what kind of people do that, who have no respect for the truth, no respect for reality whatsoever. And they think they have that kind of power to make a decision that reality isn't what it is. Napoleon was the leader of France from 1800, 1799, something like that, to 1814. And then they all pretend that they were ruling the whole time. And then I even have French books that cut Napoleon out and pretend he was never a ruler of France. Who's making these decisions in France to pretend that Napoleon never ruled France? Okay, so we're dealing with people who really think that they have the power to pretend that things aren't real. And that because they own the media and they have the money and they have bought the governments, that they can just impose their will on us, and that people like me can just have just be blacklisted and swept aside and shut down, even though I have the truth entirely on my side, and they just have that they're all very, very rich and they're all operating in concert. Okay, that's what I'm really standing up for. Respecting the truth. They can all pretend Napoleon wasn't an emperor, but he actually was an emperor. They can pretend he wasn't the ruler of France, but he actually was. Okay, and we're seeing that same kind of mass pretending right now. And I call it out. And it is my deep wish that other people will say, no, we won't tolerate this. That we understand reality in our own mind. And we don't just play pretend because the people with money do that. Due grandi partiti abbiamo dinanzi quello di tentare la salvezza della patria con la violenza a cedere. Io stesso alla spinta generale fui costretto a pigliarmi a quest'ultimo. Amici e nemici, pandovoli e malavoli, tutti abbiano inalberato il capo contro di me. Io rimasi solo dei vecchi sociaceri, caduto una volta era caduto per sempre, perché io non sono uomo da mezzi misuri. E poi la sovranità non si lascia, né si riprende come fosse un mantello. L'altro partito richiedeva un straordinario vigore. Si sarebbero trovati grandi colpevoli e avrebbe fatto uopo di grandi castighi. Il sangue poteva scorrere a torrenti. Né ci era dato prevedere dove ci saremmo fermati. Quali segni non potevano rinnovarsi, non mi esponevo io per tal modo ad i miseri a tuffare la mia memoria e a quella gora di sangue, di delitti, d'abominazioni, d'ogni fatte che l'odio, le satire, i libelli accumulavano sopra il mio capo. Ciò facendo avrei giustificato tutto quello che piacque loro diventare sul mio conto. Io diveniva per i posteri e per la storia dei Neroni e il Tiberio dai tempi nostri, pazienza. Almeno sia tal prezzo avessi salva la patria e mi sentiva di tanto, né mi sarebbe venuto manco il coraggio. Era poi ben certo che l'esito si avrebbe corrisposto. Tutti i nostri pericoli non venivano cia dal di fuori, poiché le nostri interni discordili avanzavano di gran lunga. Non vedevasi tutto di una turba di insensati disputari, rabbiosamente sugli mezzi tinte prima di aver rassicurato il trionfo del colori, che mai sarebbe entrato nelle persuasioni che io non operassi per me solo e per i miei personali vantaggi, che di essi sarevesi convinto dal mio disinteressi e che io solo commettevo per salvare la patria a chi avrei potuto far concepire tutti i pericoli e sciaguri che cercavo allontanare da essa. Questi mali e questi sciaguri apparivano chiari e manifesti al mio sguardo, ma il volgo li ignora, sempre fino a che non rimanga schiacciato dal loro peso, che saresti risposto a chi avessi gridato. C'è quello di nuovo, il despota, il tiranno, e viola oggi i giuramenti di ieri, e chissà mai se in questi movimenti, in questo inestricabili inveluppo io non sarei forse caduto sotto il colpo di un mano francese nel conflitto civile, allora che diventava ma le nazioni agli sguardi dal modo e nella stima delle più remote generazioni, impero che la sua gloria consiste tutta sotto a sentimento ai miei principi. Io non avrei per fermo potuto fare tante cose per l'onor suo, per suo lustro. Se siete lì e suo malgrado, tali ipotesi mi renderebbe troppo grandi alla storia. Mi giova ripeterlo, sia la storia, l'ardua sentenza. Dopo questo caldo episodio ritorno sulle disposizioni e sui particolari della campagna, fermendosi con compiacenza sul suo glorioso esordire e con angoscia sul terribile rovescio che avviavi posto fine. It is so difficult for me to tell you what's going on here. It's certainly Napoleon mouthing off. That I know. But I'm not that good at Italian. I mean, it's all the stuff that he always says. He's not a man of half measures. That I got. He always said, I'm not a man of half measures. He wasn't. But that's why we love him. Talking about the legislative bodies. He's such a genius. It's hard enough in English to follow him, to be honest with you. Such a genius, but then Italian. Sometimes I like remember it from the other books. Sometimes it's a little over my head. All right, so now Lavallette's hiding in this garret in the Department of Foreign Affairs of all places, and this aristocratic family is risking everything because they're so inspired by the heroism of his wife, Madame Emily Lavalette, that they want to be a part of the great thing that she's doing, trying to save her husband, an innocent man, from being executed. And she's gotten all of these aristocrats to help him because they're the only ones who won't be suspected. So he has the best chance of escaping from the puppet regime that English Gold has installed, which is terrorizing the population through killing innocent people. And Lavalette was one of those innocent people. And everything I just said is everything the publicists don't want said, which is actually why I said it. Okay? Because they're all there to make you not see that we're living under occupation governments, we're living under fascism, the democracy is a sham. It's all basically a show that's being put on. And you see these leaders are doing very aggressive things, but really they already control all the governments. So they're just kind of putting on a show. So people are going to want to fight in their wars, and then the financial situation is engineered in a certain way where there really are no jobs except joining the military. So people join the military out of desperation, and then they end up dead. Okay, this is a elaborate scheme to kill us, and then when we're gone, they can just kind of take what's left. Let's just call that my conspiracy theory. Okay, and then look up Agenda 21, and see how the elections are, see how both parties are essentially the same. And when there is no opposition in a country, that's a one-party state. That's basically fascism or communism. It's certainly not democracy. And you can see by how, as a truthful person, I am shut down. My name is, it's pretend not in existence. I'm an invisible person now. And even my numbers are turned off. So think about that. That's the United States of America, which is supposed to be the bastion of freedom, the home of the brave. And we're the democracy people. And I can't even have a number on the internet, basically. And the establishment won't say my name, even though, look, my influence is felt, and everybody knows that. So this is backfiring. This is really backfiring on them. And I knew it would. As soon as they took my Wikipedia down and started the the downward slope of my numbers, and I saw it. Oh, I'm invisible now. Oh, how cute. That's what they did to Napoleon. Okay, I was actually honored. And then they maneuvered me into house arrest, which we all were. Okay. At least people like me were maneuvered into house arrest. And I thought, oh, they're doing to me what they did to Napoleon. How interesting. I actually consider it an honor. And I feel that I am proving that I am up against the same exact enemies and that they are in control at this time. And Napoleon's enemies were called English gold. That's who he called them. He did not bother even talking about the English royal family. They were not a factor to him. He thought they were very interesting. He liked to hear stories about them. He was curious about them, but he did not take them seriously at all. English gold is who he was up against, okay? And the fact that the same things, the same exact pretend games are done to me, the intimidation is done to me, pretty much I am by far not Napoleon, and yet all the same games are used on me. So they recognize me as something along the same lines as him, and I consider that as a tremendous honor because I would love to be like Napoleon, and what an honor. He was a great hero. All right, so let's get back into Lavalette hiding in a garret, waiting to get smuggled out of France because he ran the post office and they were about to execute him. And his angelic wife is now in jail, about to lose her mind because she was too sensitive a person to handle that. But she did. She sacrificed herself for her husband. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I want everybody to know about Emily. She's a beautiful woman. I want everyone to honor her and Lavalette. I just want people to know these stories. And I also would like people to think about why they don't read these stories in high school. Because I took European literature in high school and I read some really interesting books, but I most certainly didn't read these books. Why? Why is that? Okay, because English Gold ran my education in Southampton, New York. I had a wonderful education and I was very lucky. I was very lucky, I took art classes, I took music classes. I was very fortunate. But I was being conditioned to keep in my place, like everybody else. But I can't complain. My education was pretty good. But no, I was not told the truth. Not at all. But I read some good books. I had some good times in school. So I'm not even going to complain about that much. All right, let's continue. Elle me quitta après un entretien, me surpressant ensuite. Je m'étais attendrie avec les dames. Son arrivée me procura un peu de gaieté. Je ne le connaissais pas plus que sa femme 15 ans avant. Je l'avais vue une fois, avant de voir plus le sexe. Peut-être qu'une fois aurait dû nos rapports d'affaires terminés, puisque je n'étais pas restée dans la carrière diplomatique que nous ne nous étions pas rencontrés. Mais ce Bresson était un homme d'une figure très agréable, d'un esprit délicat et très ordonné et d'une énergie de caractère dont il avait donné souvent les marques les plus éclatantes. Ce n'était pas son attachement à l'empereur qu'il avait décidé à se jeter dans une situation si dangereuse, ce peut me suffire, car je doute qu'il a estimé beaucoup aimer ni sa personne ni son gouvernement. C'était un sentiment profond d'humanité et une protestation pleine de courage contre les condamnations politiques dont il avait été lui-même la victime. Je viens de courir au salon, dit-il en riant, et surtout ce de quelques hauts dignitaires. Vous ne pouvez vous faire une idée de la peur et de la consternation qui bouleversant tous les esprits aux Tuileries. Personne ne se couchera Il se persuade donc que votre fuite est le résultat d'un grand complot qui va éclater. On vous voit à la tête de l'ancienne armée marchant sur les Tuileries et tout Paris prenant les armes. Je ne serais pas étonné qu'on arrêtât le mouvement des troupes étrangères qui commencent à s'éloigner. On parle de fermer la barrière. Imaginez où cela peut aller. Les laitières ne pourront rentrer demain. Plus les laits, plus les déjeuners de bonnes femmes. Et moi qui écoutez toutes ces lamentations, moi qui vous tiens sous ma clef, puis examina avec beaucoup de soin tout mon modeste mobilier et tout ce qu'on m'avait apporté. Une commode était remplie de soulages et de ses vêtements. On trouverait seulement votre volet et ne laissez entrer des yeux qui vous sont faux pour lire. Si vous en remis, placez votre tête pour tousser dans cette armoire. Je lui avais demandé de la bière pour trancher une soif ardente qui me tourmentait depuis un mois. Vous n'en aurez pas. Nous n'avons pas l'habitude d'en boire. Cela pourrait se remarquer. Je n'ai pas oublié l'histoire de Monsieur de Montmorin qui fut découvert et périt sur l'échafaud pour avoir mangé un poulet dont les offrances étaient au coin de la borne. Un voisin qui savait qu'il avait faim, qui le cachet était trop pauvre pour manger de poulet. On tira à la conclusion qu'elle récilait aux fresqueries. Et là, elle dénonçait. Vous aurez des sirops et du sucre à discrétion, mais point de bière. So so interesting. Lavelet's in his garret, and the man of the house visits him, and they're not even letting the servants know that he's there, and they're saying, "If you cough, put your head in the armoire and like muffle it." And he's saying this man had no love whatsoever for Napoleon, but he was so indignant at this political murder, and that he, as an aristocrat, his host, they had been executed for being aristocrats. See, first they executed the aristocrats, and then they executed the populists. See, they go back and forth. It's really about terrorism. There's no side to this. It's the string pullers. First they kill the aristocrats, and they kill the populists. It's back and forth because it's fake. It's all fake. They don't care what side you're on. They just want to run things. So this aristocrat wanted to do something for Lavalette, even though he had no love for Napoleon whatsoever. And Lavalette says, "Wow, I'd really love some beer. I've been dying for some beer." The guy says, "Look, I can't give you any beer because we don't drink beer." And there was someone who was executed, an aristocrat who was being hidden. And the people were so poor that were hiding him. And the aristocrat got some chicken. And then they found the chicken bones. They said, "Oh, these people are too poor for that." And they caught him and they killed him. So that's why they couldn't even give Lavalette beer. And this man, I should try to tell you his name. It's not popping out at me. So I have to keep calling him this aristocrat. Anyways, aristocrat. It's an incredible story. Wow. Anyway, let's move along. Let's move along. It's crazy. Basically, this aristocrat's saying that they have shut down the gates around the city. People aren't going to be able to get their milk the next day. They are so terrified that Lavalette has broken out. They're already imagining that the populist army is going to march in the Tuileries. They're freaking out. These people cannot handle anything because they're bad leaders. They're incompetent. They're they're kind of grifters. So, and they're puppets. They didn't really earn the position they're in. They're being propped up by English gold. So they have no confidence in themselves. So everything terrifies them. If Napoleon comes back from Elba, they lose their minds. They don't know what to do. They don't have that strength in themselves because they're kind of game players and cheaters, and they rely on having this this wealth behind them, and then they in themselves don't have character or strength, so they're very easily shaken. And I find that that's very true with the people who I'm up against. They're incredibly arrogant, but they don't really have a lot of ability. And then someone like me who's I've just faced walls and barriers and no, you can't do that. And whenever I did get close to anything, I got kicked out because I'm too disruptive and I'm too honest. So someone like me, I don't quit and I don't stop. I have a resolve that they don't have. And they're just like, oh, but we're rich and we get everything we want. And you're a nobody and we're everybody. And it's like, well, that doesn't take you that far. So, in a way, getting everything your own way and being incredibly spoiled is not a leg up. And that's really what we're seeing. Whenever there's like the slightest challenge to their power, they can't handle it because they're just so used to everything falling at their feet because they have all of this money behind them. Look, I've dealt with these people for years. They're no fun. They are no fun. Incredibly arrogant people. And they think they're so smart. They're like, oh, they think they're so smart. It's incredible how smart they think they are. And they're not. They've been telling themselves how smart they are. I mean, I'm not going to believe at the point, but they've got all these tricks they play. And they're like, oh, but they always work. All we have to do is bribe people and pretend to be their friend and be really sexy. And it always works. And then when it doesn't work, basically they promise people what they think they want. I remember when I had this agent after me, all I could feel was her like trying to find the lever to control me. Is money going to control me? Is media attention going to control me? Is fame going to control me? What does she want? Does she want a book deal? Does she want a media job? What does she want? I'm going to pretend to offer it to her, and then she'll be putty in my hands. And I was just watching her try everything. And then finally she would say, like, oh, but you have to fight the pedophiles. And Trump is fighting the pedophiles. Because that's how they sell Trump to the people who actually have a heart. They tell them that he's fighting the pedophiles. And I had a person from the US government send me a US.gov link, a .gov link, so a link literally from the government telling me that Trump had just arrested 33,000 pedophiles. It was some kind of insane number like that. Of course, 33. So if you know about numerology, that's what made it a total joke. And she's like, oh, he busted all these pedophiles. So now you have to support Trump or else you're a bad person and you want this horrible abuse to continue against children. That's what she tried after all of the bribes and threats. She threatened me too. Then it was like, do it to fight the pedophiles. And I was like, oh, wow, you guys got all your faces covered. And I said to her, I was like, you know what? I actually don't believe .gov links. I need more proof than that. And she dropped it. But that was her like last ditch effort. I had to do it like for the children and appreciate that. When they're really out of moves, it's like for the children. Okay, so they're happy to hide behind children. They're happy to use that as a pretext. The person who was disrupting my memoirs in my own neighborhood was banging pots for 2 months. He was hiding behind children and he was acting like we all had to go along with it because his children were having so much fun banging pots during my memoirs. That was at the beginning of this huge publicity stunt that got us, many of us, under house arrest. See, so if I really said anything against him, his children were having such a blast banging pots during my memoirs. See, that would be such a terrible thing to transgress against children. Okay, so understand they will not hesitate to use children to further their aims and to try to like make someone like me look bad. So think about Stoneman Douglas, how we should all throughout the Constitution, because these children are telling us to. That was one of the most egregious uses of children to manipulate. Look, the Constitution isn't being enforced correctly. My constitutional rights are violated all the time. And I'm going to have to go to court or find basically I stand up for myself by speaking out, and we should stand up for our rights. We do have a constitution. It's not being enforced correctly, and the people that are supposed to be defending our rights are actually the ones transgressing it because we have so much infiltration in the United States. As I think we all know, I certainly know that. I've experienced that, like I just said. A government employee was trying to trick me into supporting Trump and manipulating me into supporting Trump. He was the president at the time, and I felt that was very aggressive. That the government was demanding that I support this person who I've always viewed as very dishonest. And if I started to support him, that would have created all kinds of problems for me, and it would have actually destroyed my credibility. And I felt that was the point. They have to find a way to get me to look like I'm no one to listen to. Everything they do is to make me seem crazy or whatever they can do. So people say, oh, she's not worth listening to. Just ignore her. It's because I'm telling the truth. All right, let's continue. This is the story of the poisoning of Napoleon in Spanish by a Swedish toxicologist named Sven Forvishud. This guy's very serious. He's a huge fan of Napoleon, so I like him already. El emperador sacó la conclusión de que este secuestro era el preludio de su eliminación. Napoleón comprendió que nadie se atrevería a causa de la opinión mundial a levantar abiertamente la mano contra él, pero que le harían desaparecer de manera discreta. La condición primordial era que estuviese aislado y olvidado. El 16 de mayo de 1816, el emperador sostuvo con el relato de las casas una entrevista con el gobernador, en el curso de la cual este comunicó al ilustre tipo que sus instrucciones eran más severas que las del almirante. Napoleón contestó: declaráis, señor, que vuestras instrucciones son mucho más terribles que las del almirante. ¿Cuáles son? Hacerme morir por el hierro y por el veneno. Lo espero todo de parte de vuestros ministros. Heme aquí ejecuta a vuestra víctima. El emperador añadió: ignoro cómo lo haráis con el veneno, pero en cuanto a inmolarme con el hierro, habéis encontrado ya este tema. El gobernador había amenazado con entrar en el departamento de Napoleón para asegurarse de su presencia. Napoleón había anunciado entonces que la violencia contestaría con la resistencia armada. So this is also very interesting because a lot of what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to establish a pattern of behavior of how basically English gold, I'm just going to call them English gold because that's what Napoleon called them, and English gold can't sue me. So obviously, basically, they cut Napoleon off from his mail, from what he could read. No one could talk to him. They were isolating him. They were changing the rules all the time so he wouldn't feel like he could leave the house without being humiliated and disgraced. I hope I'm expressing this well. Basically, he saw that he was being isolated. And he said, oh, first they want to isolate me, then they want me to be forgotten, and then they're going to get rid of me. That's how Napoleon saw it. And that's actually how I saw it. When they started to like lock us up and then vilify us and anybody who has opinions is somehow green passport or just out of view. That's the preliminary to killing these people. And I count myself among that number. This is how they do it. So if you understand their pattern, first they want to remove the victims from view. Then the people will be forgotten about. And then when they disappear, and then they're vilified and they're gone and no one cares. This is their standard operating. These are killers. And they kill regularly. So they have a certain pattern that they go through. And I can't emphasize this enough. I don't understand why they don't have empathy for us or want us here. We're in the way. They think we're on their land or something, or they think we're livestock. I don't know what I don't know why they have such a. You have to start to ask yourself what's going on with them spiritually, because I couldn't do this to people, the stuff they do to us. Not at all. And they're so incredibly dishonest that the only way that they can deal with what I'm saying is to pretend I don't exist, or blacklist me, or tell their whole conspiracy that they can have to pretend that I don't exist. Yeah, they did get everybody to say not say my name, but there's rainbows everywhere. There's all kinds of solidarity being expressed because people are so fed up with this. And yes, they want to still have their money and they still want to live, just like the people who were protecting Lavalette. They see that it's wrong, but they don't want to be financially destroyed. So they did take a risk and they did hide Lavalette. Well, a lot of people are in that position right now where they don't want to lose their job and they don't want to be financially destroyed and they don't want to have no food for their children. But at the same time, they're sick of it. And I think that's why we see all of these kind of artistic expressions of solidarity with me. They're everywhere. Even I see them, even though, my influence is everything's done to hide it for me. My perceptions are being altered because the internet that I see is being messed with. So, like, they're trying to trick me into not knowing the truth. And then when my perceptions are inaccurate, then I'm going to convey that. And then somehow they'll get me to lie. And look, when they lie about my numbers, these are lies that they're attaching to my work. I'm doing everything within my ability to be an honest human being. And I can't even do that without their fingerprints being put on my work and lying about me. So we have no idea what's going on, who's watching my stuff, who reads my blog. I can see that they're in all kinds of things that I deal with. So they're the enemy within, and their presence is felt. And if you want to understand them, follow my project, look at the comments, and just look at all the, like, they try to put flat earth on my comments sometimes. So I'll have my stream or something, and someone in the comments like, "Oh, the earth is flat, ha ha ha," or whatever. Oh yeah, right, we're all idiots. And I don't know, do you understand? So people are like, "Oh, you see, she's stupid, she has flat earth people." They play all these games. And I feel they're just exposing themselves. I don't even delete these comments from them. I know exactly where they're coming from. So anybody who's honest, they try to put flat earth on it, or lies, or there's all kinds of things they do. So I'll disseminate lies. Certainly they wanted me to support Trump badly. And then and I was going to do it for the children. It's always for the children, I actually do care about children. Do they, though? And yet everything's for the children. So when they want to get really manipulative, they know that people like me actually do care about children. I actually do care about them. I hope we can leave them a better world than we had. And that is what I'm fighting for. And I actually do care about the children. And the fact that they throw that at my face and they try to hide behind children, and that if I even question them, somehow I'm anti-child. I'm not anti-child at all. And nor have I ever been. But the games are unbelievable. Wow. This is, sometimes I have trouble finding anyone. I think I see it. This is going to be hard for me to find because I stopped in the middle of a paragraph. Sometimes these paragraphs don't come up fast enough. Please, Okay, I'm gonna have to look, really look. This is not easy. Room, kitchen. All right, I might have to have a little look. I can't find it. All right, well, I never said it was gonna be perfect. That's for sure. So let's just read some German. Ich hatte darüber ganz eigene Gedanken, hätten Österreicher oder Russen einige Schwierigkeiten gemacht, so würde ich eine Franzosin geheiratet haben. Meine Wahl würde auf einen der ersten Namen der Monarchie gefallen sein. War diese mein erster Gedanke, meine Verneigung. Meine Minister konnten mich bloß durch Berufung auf die Politik davon erhalten. Hätte ich die Monarchie, die Nestle, die Clisson nicht gehabt, so würde ich ihre Tochter adoptiert und ein fremdes Sirene verheiratet haben. Es wäre mein Stolz, meine Freude gewesen. Dieser schon in Französisch. Zweige so für Pflanzen wären sie ganz für uns gewesen. Hätten sie sicher ganz unserem Interesse ergeben. Sie verstanden es nicht, Mikro zu erraten. Sie sowohl als meine ungebundenen Sachen in mir bloß beurteile, wo ich nach den tiefsten Kombinationen handelte, wie der Marker sei, so hatte ihre Partei mehr an mir verloren, als sie denkte. Es fällt ihnen an Verstand und an Kenntnis des Herrn Holmes. Found it. There it was. Okay, let's continue. Welch unglückliche Neigung hatte sie verblendet, dass sie sich sicher lieber in dem Schlamm der verwundeten Felsen, als mir auf den Gipfel des Simplon folgen wollten und dort dem übrigen Europa Ackertung und Bewanderung zu gebieten, die unsinnigen über dies Schürfer hatte ich in meinem Portefeuille einen Entwurf zu dessen Aufführung mir bloß die Zeit mein Geld und der mir viele dieser Leute gewonnen haben würde, der im Grunde nur gerecht gewesen wäre. Jeder Abkömmlinge eines alten Marschalls oder Ministers sollte zu allen Seiten berechtigt sein, sich als Herzog zu erklären, wenn er die erforderliche Dotation beweisen konnte. Jeder Sohn eines Generals, eines Gouverneurs, einer Provinz hätte sicher zu allen Seiten als Graf anerkennen lassen können und sofort diese Würde einiger auf einer höhere Stufe gebracht, die Hoffnungen anderer genährt, die Nacheiferung aller aufgeregter und ein stolzes Sein des Menschen bewundert haben. Große Kinder klappern, die übrigens auf meinen Weg und in meinen Kombinationen ganz unschuldig waren. Veraltete und verdorbene Nationen lassen sich nicht wie antike und tugendhafte Volker regieren auf einen Mann, der heute alles dem orphiligen Wahl opfern wird. Kommen Tausende und Millionen, die nur ihr Interesse, ihr Genuss, ihre Eitelkeit kennen, wollte man nun ein Volk in einem Augenblick gleichsam auf der Post regenerieren. So war diese eine Unternehmung des Wahnsinn Das Genie des Arbeiters musste die Materialien, die ihm so geboten stehen, so benutzen, wissen und hierin, mein Lieber, liegt eines der Geheimnisse. Warum alle monarchischen Formen so leicht bei uns wieder genommen werden konnten, warum die Rückkehr der Titel, der Kreuze, der Bände so leicht war, der Gefäßegeber musste das Geheimnis verstehen. Selbst ist die Verkehrtheiten derer, die regieren will, in Berechnung zu sehen. Und bei allen dem haben diese Lappalien nur wenig Nachteile und leisten sogar einigen sind auf der Stufe der Zivilisation, wo wir gegenwärtig gelenkt sind, eignen sie sich dazu der Masseachtung einzuflossen und gebieten zugleich sich selbst mit Achtung zu benehmen. Sie können die Eitelkeit des Schwachen befriedigen und die starken Geister im geringsten zum Unmut zu reißen. Es war sehr spät und der Kaiser sagte mir beim Abschied: Nun, mein Freund, dies war wieder einmal ein angenehmer Abend. Envy, wie viel Unterhaltungen dieser Art habe ich durch Mangel weiterer Entwicklungen nach der ersten Aufsicherung verloren, denn es kam nie ein Gespräch war, über welchen Gegenstand es auch sein mochte. Von ich hier und dort denkwürdiger Ausdruck und sogar hervorleuchteten. Wenn man meine Schrift liest, wird man sich über das, was man dort findet, freuen. Ich aber denke und bedauere nur das, was mir verloren gegangen ist, wenn ich flüchtig einige Seiten in meinen Tagebuch aufgeschrieben habe, so war mein Geist von dem Ganzen, als ich meine Absicht zufolge kurze Zeit darauf entwickeln wollte, erfüllte und dann war ich an der Quelle, die am folgenden Tage wieder für mich fließen sollte. Nun aber hat die Zeit die erlittenen Qualen, der Schmerz, alles verfickt, indessen vergeht keine Tag, so wird nicht ein seltener Bruchstück, einige Ideen, einige Redensarten, einige isolierte Worte einfallen, wo ist nun aber der Ort für sie? Wo passen sie ein? Dies wäre der Gegenstand einer Arbeit, die so leicht und so nützlich sie auch erscheinen mochte. Doch meine Kräfte übersteigte meine Gesundheit, gestattete mir diese Arbeit durchaus nicht. All right, that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you spending the time and listening to me rant about Napoleon. I really do like doing that. Anyway, so I hope you have a wonderful evening. Good night.